Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're going to be rigging out the Sony A7C with a cage, monitor, and everything we need to get going to make this a heck of a lot more comfortable in my big hands. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into this. So one of my biggest complaints about this camera, as great as it is considering what you get for its price, is this tiny little grip. For big hands like mine, I just can't get comfortable on this camera whatsoever. So I can't wait to see what this cage is like. Firstly, a massive thank you to YC Onion for sending out this cage for the Sony A7C. I really appreciate it. If you want to find out more about it, links to that will be in the description below. They're not paying me to make this video, and all thoughts about this cage will be my own. So I'm going to give you my pros and cons about it. Now, all this gear over here, I've actually purchased off Amazon, and also I've got a field monitor now that I've had for quite some time. So we're going to rig this up and hopefully make a little bit of a filmmaker's kit out of it. Here's the full cage up close. Now, YC Onion make two different cages. They make an L-shaped one, which is these two axes, and this full cage. One of the great things about this one is it has a tool underneath as well, which is magnetized in there, so you won't lose it. Once you tighten everything up, you can place it back under there and it shouldn't fall out. It doesn't feel like it's gonna go anywhere. So in terms of build quality, for 50 bucks, this feels pretty good. One of the things that excited me the most about rigging this out was getting a good grip. This is the universal 1/4 side handle. This has two mounting screws on the side. On the top, we also get a cold shoe mount, as well as more mounting points and a magnetized Allen key spot right there. So that's not going to fall out or do anything weird. Nope, it's going to stay there nice and securely. And this feels already so much better than the grip on the Sony A7C. Now, at the time of filming, this handle comes in at $67, and it's not surprising it's slightly more expensive than the cage, given that we have different materials. If you want to turn your Sony A7C into a makeshift Sony FX3, we also get a top handle. Again, this feels beautiful and it's right in line with the design elements of the side handle. So this top handle has lots of mounting points. We get a magnetized Allen key slot on the side here. We can run cables through here, and this will mount directly onto the top of the cage, as well as having its own cold shoe mount. We actually get two of them. So build quality wise, this is awesome. Now, while I haven't put this together just yet, I can tell by the build quality this is gonna go together beautifully. So let's take a look at this other top handle here. This is called the mini top handle screw mount. This also has its own Allen key in the box. So I got plenty of Allen keys floating around. And this also has a cold shoe mount on the top. It just allows a little bit of simple cable management as well as an additional cold shoe. All right, so let's get this rigged up with the cage and we'll see what it looks like. I'm gonna give you my first impressions of this, just setting it up as it is. So it feels amazing. It was nice and simple to put together. This is the first time I've used a cage on a Sony A7C, and it came with everything to get it going. So yeah, all in all, this is pretty great. Now, this smaller top handle only costs 40 bucks. It's very, very small, but if you're looking for a simple solution, this might do the job. But I much prefer this top handle here. If you are gonna be doing a whole lot of top handle work like this, you'll still probably want to use two hands just to make sure that you're keeping it sturdy. Otherwise, it does want to sort of just lean a little bit to the right, but I'm going to put the lens on and just see how it feels. And now with the lens on, it's definitely far more balanced than it was before. You could probably see earlier it was going to the right because it was a little bit right heavy. Now that the lens is on though, it's nice and balanced, so you could easily use this one-handed without any problems whatsoever. I'm in the process of shooting a short film, and I'll put samples of that on this particular channel after it's done, and I'm using the Sony A7C for the majority of the shots, even though I own a Sony FX3 because we're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, and I kind of don't really mind as much if this gets a little bit dirty, whereas the FX3, I want to keep that in excellent condition for studio use. But this already feels fantastic, and I'd much prefer shooting with it like this. I love the fact you can also still easily mount it onto a tripod plate without having to take everything apart, and you still have easy access to the battery. One of the small things I purchased just for doing this short film was a small rig adapter for use with a monitor. So this just goes directly on the top here. Boom. And now this will allow easy access for the Andy Cine 4K Pro or Plus monitor that I reviewed quite some time ago. If you missed that video, I'll link it up in the cards and you can check it out. But this should all go together nice and simply. One of the big questions I had before getting this was, can I connect my HDMI cable while the cage is still on, and doing this without looking at it's kind of difficult, but you can. The door still opens fine. Just wrap the cable around like this or however you want to do it and hook it up. Now we've got all this rigged up, it works, it looks awesome. I can touch the focus on here and we have that great autofocus. We also have the ability to hold this however we like and to monitor on a much larger screen. Now the only thing that's kind of missing right now is audio, and we've got a couple of extra cold shoe mount points where we could attach a wireless microphone system like a Blink 500 Pro, the Synco G2A2, or we can connect an external microphone like this as well, a shotgun mic, to say this cold shoe mount over here. We can tighten that up and then run the cable. If we may need an extension cable. No, we don't. We could just run this straight over to here, or around the back might actually be better to save a bit of space, but that allows us to connect a microphone to this. All right, so let's give this a shot outside just to see how it works. I'm shooting this particular section with the Panasonic GH5, and this is with it all rigged up. I've taken the external microphone off because I don't need it for this test. You're listening to the audio being recorded on the GH5, so this is how it looks. Now, two things to take note of that I didn't know inside. One, the record button's right under there, so you kind of got to get your thumb in there to hit record. You can still do it easily enough, but it's definitely worth mentioning. And secondly, the screen on the camera basically goes black with all the information when you hit record. So it's just something that I didn't know, never having hooked this up to an external monitor, but everything else seems to be working. The autofocus is working. I'm using steady shot on this, so let's give it a go. Already it feels nice and sturdy, which is awesome. I think I've got my autofocus set to responsive because I was doing some slow-mo stuff earlier, but as you can see, it works nicely. Let's try it over here. Now what I'm going to do is touch the focus, then I'm going to go over to manual focus here, which is one of the things I really love about this. That is nice and steady, considering this is all handheld with no post stabilization, shooting in S-Log2 with active steady shot. Let's try it over here. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. The Sony G Master lens is something else. There we go, perfect. Let's talk about my hands-on experience with this outside. So all in all, I think it went very well. It's the first time I've had an external monitor hooked up to the Sony A7C. It was interesting to find out that the screen goes black. It's not a big deal because everything still functions as it should, but you still get everything on the nice big monitor at the top. So Andy Cine monitor worked great with this, no problems there at all. Now my only small critique of this would be that the side handle has a little bit of play in it. It's not going to come loose or anything like that, but there is just the slightest amount of movement in there. And I've got this as tight as I could possibly get it with my fingers. So unless there's another tool for this that really locks it into place, as of right now, there's just a little bit of play in here. It almost feels like it's just the mount underneath these screws. So it's definitely not going to fall out or anything like that, but just something worth mentioning. Now, in terms of stabilization, this was a huge upgrade over what I was used to using active steady shot on the A7C. Now, active steady shot works okay as long as you're not moving, but when you move, it's pretty much terrible, which is why I use the Catalyst browse software. But this will allow me to get really stable handheld results, or more stable than I'd be able to normally without the cage. And it's far more comfortable. Now, if I'm traveling, I'm probably not bringing the monitor or the HDMI cable and all that kind of stuff, but I'd bring the top handle and the side handle, or at least one or the other. The great thing about it is you can strip this down and make it as small as you like. You can rig it up and make it as big as you like. So all in all, this feels great, and it's not as heavy as it probably looks. Now, if you're wondering what the small handle's like, I tried this off camera and I didn't find it anywhere near as comfortable as this large one. It will depend on your particular circumstances, whether or not you choose to use this small handle. But for me, this rig is definitely the way to go. A massive thank you to YC Onion for sending out these parts and cage for the review. I really appreciate it. Again, some of this I already owned and some of it I purchased just for this particular video, but the handle, the cage, and the side handle, they were nice enough to send out along with this little guy as well. So if you want to check this out, links to them will be below. It's really surprising just how great it is given the price, and I would have no hesitations recommending this to someone. I haven't tried it long term, obviously, but if there's any issues down the track, I'll follow it up with another video. Thanks again for watching. Catch you soon. See ya.